more technical data science track or like more generalized business analytics track. And the FOMO in me kicked out, and I thought, okay, let's find something which has both to do. And I think now reflecting back on that decision, I think most of the things, like, most courses you do, most jobs you will work on, you will always find an overlap between these two. So, like, it will be very hard to basically say as we go along, with the advent of LLMs and everything, that this is more business analytics work and this is more data science work. And now coming back to your question, Niharika, I think I will probably start with business analytics and, probably talk you a bit about like the scope, what all it includes, and then we can move to data science and tell you like very high level what is the scope and what all it includes. So for business analytics, when you say business analytics, it basically means that we are using to analyze the data for the past performance, identify the trend, and make data-driven recommendations to optimize business processes and improve the outcomes. So one key component is past performance, right? So it is always retrospective, and you analyze how the business is looking, and then say that, hey, you know what, in the past this worked, so maybe you should do more of that. And business analytics basically can, includes of descriptive analytics, as I mentioned, that examining the historical data and see what happened. Diagnostic analytics, which is also sometimes called like, deep dive analysis, that something happened, hey, my sales is dropping, can you see why exactly this is happening? Are customers not coming or are they not shopping? What exactly is happening? The third one would be more prescriptive analytics, that you recommend that, based on our like my observation as a business analyst, the business should try to acquire more customers who buy more of XYZ, for example. So that is like, business analytics, where you basically sort of try to look in the retrospect and do some prescription and tell the business the current state. Now the other side of the spectrum, data science. Data science nowadays, like when you see on LinkedIn or anywhere else, data science post, data scientists is becoming more and more generalized. So data science as such, it would be like, in my opinion, a broad spectrum of activities, which will be for data collection, cleaning, analyzing, and finally the biggest thing, the machine learning to extract insights and build predictive models. So the difference is analytics was backward looking, retrospective looking. This is more forward looking, making predictions. The key components would be, again, the big part is data engineering, which is the data collection, data cleaning, exploratory data analysis, just to understand what is going on in the data. And then finally, the machine learning part, where you make the predictive model using deep learning, machine learning. And the last chunk is the machine learning engineering part, which is the model deployment part. Uh, so in essence, basically, business analytics tends to focus more on data to optimize business process and improve decision making. You work very close with the business owners, while data science involves more, deeper explanation of data through statistical and computational method, and draw insights and make predictive models. Yeah, I think, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yes. So, just one more reminder for people who are attending. If you have any questions related to the topic, please post in the Q&A box and we'll take it up maybe after the discussion. So, okay. So that brings me to the next point that we wanted to discuss. That is, the skill sets. Like, what are the skill sets that one requires if they want to go into a business analytics role? And what are the skill sets that one requires when they want to, sort of go to a data science role?
Okay, yeah, I think yes. So basically, like in terms of skill set, I think a lot depends on your background. So, for example, like you are already, you have done some formal education in computer science or statistics. Like the recommendation will be very different for you to move into data science. But like I can maybe probably start with business analytics. So in terms of skill sets, what I would be definitely, advise people entering like, business analytics domain is you should have very strong skill sets on data wrangling, right? Like just data mining and just understanding how data works. And then the second aspect would be to use it for the data visualization, which could be using, all the fancy tools like Tableau, Power BI, Amazon QuickSight, whatnot. And apart from that, a very basic sense of data familiarity, which obviously means you should be able to play with Excel, because no matter how technically advanced you want, like Excel will always remain your best friend. So in terms of like skill set, I think Excel would be one of the most underrated skill sets. I still say that people still don't know how to do like a index map in Excel, for example. And then, there is a lot of domain related knowledge for business analytics. So, for example, whether depending on the industry you're working in, you need to have more understanding of like consumer behavior, financials, how like the top line, bottom line works, and the very niche of finance, healthcare, marketing, retail, whichever sort of domain you're working in. And also, another thing is that, depending on which part of data science you're taking in. So, for example, data and business analytics, sorry, can also include more writing SQL queries, more like a business intelligence engineer, which is like at the somewhere in the middle of data science and business engineer. So, I think SQL is another like, very hot skill that you should probably put your hands on. And if as a business analyst, I can give you my 2 cents, two skills which can like literally land you any job would be first great SQL skills. People love people who just can write queries for them. Second is having a knowledge of data visualization. If you have like decent knowledge of how data visualization works, if you have decent knowledge of how to play with Tableau or Power BI, I think you're good to go. Another important skill for business analytics people is that because you're very close to business, so you should have excellent communication skills, right? You should be able to tell stories. You should be able to convey complex insights to non-technical stakeholders, right? So, for example, more often than not, or your audience, like your stakeholders, would be some marketing managers or like someone very less tech, and you have to understand, like you just need to explain to them that what was the analysis, why you did, and why that analysis sort of makes sense. Now moving on for the data science part, like the skill set as I mentioned for data science, I think one of the key difference which stands out to be a data scientist is that you need to have decent programming language proficiency. It could be anything. It could be Python, R, Scala, MATLAB, whatever. But you should be familiar that, even in your dreams, you can write codes in Python or R or whatever language you choose. Again, another thing which is sort of overlapping with business analytics would be, being able to do data manipulation and data wrangling. And yes, of course, SQL. So basically, for a data scientist, like, when you're working in the industry as a data scientist, or even when you're like, giving interviews and stuff, no one will put the data on a plate and give it to you. You should be able to learn how to extract the data, how to convert the data into meaningful form, and then sort of, share it with the stakeholders. So if you are like familiar with programming language, you know how to use SQL, you should get data. There are now two mathematical skills. I split them as like statistical and machine learning algorithm. They are although like more or less the same thing. So when I say statistical, I mean like, more, you should have a very fundamental understanding of hypothesis testing, what is regression, like how does probability work, and you should be able to implement those in more decision, like helping the business make decision. The second side of the coin is basically you should have a good knowledge of different machine learning algorithms. This is a very fast moving domain. So, like I can have like another webinar on this and still this topic will not be covered. But just to give you a very high level view, so as a data scientist, when you come to machine learning algorithms, you should have good understanding of, what is a classification, what is a regression problem, what is clustering, what is multi-class classification, and what are the state of the art algorithms being used for these. So once you have a knowledge of these machine learning algorithms combined with your mathematics and SQL skills, I think you're good to go. And the last leg for for the data scientist part, which sort of comes more as a machine learning engineer, would be the big data technology, or like putting the models into production. So once you have a model which makes some kind of prediction, what is important is to know that how to sort of make inferences, or like how to make automate the process of making predictions from that model. And for that you need to know some big data technologies like Hadoop, Spark, or Kafka. The last part is, is another niche in itself. Not everyone needs to know it. Not all of you will probably, use it in their day-to-day life. But I think the first part, the Python part, SQL part, and the machine learning algorithms, these are the must-have. You need to have these. Only then, you can at least meet that line of being a data scientist. I would also like to take a minute to very quickly, touch base on the future trends on the data science part, because now, as I said, like data scientist is becoming a very generalized position. So more and more business analysts are now being data scientists, but the data science people who were doing like data science things like 3, 4, 5 years ago, they are moving into more newer things. So for example, the future trends which I see is obviously, the advent of large language models. You must have heard chat gpt, bard, gemini. I think that's one thing where a lot of energy and scope is going forward. And what will happen in the future, that all the companies which have like big data, think of for retail companies or all those companies, they will probably have their own customized large language models which they can use for different use cases to the customer. Another sort of hot topic nowadays is the ethical part of the machine learning, right? So for example, with machines being more and more stronger, intelligence being less and less artificial, people don't know that where is what is right, what is wrong, right? Like with the chat gpt, we have had seen example that chat gpt was able to solve the cat exam or like solve the JE exam. Now the question is that if a machine can do it, why do you need someone, like why do you need students to write it? So now this is like the ethical part of it, where it is, we should watch it like very closely and see how that evolves over the next few years. uh yeah, I think that's about it. I think I've covered most of the points I had for like the scope and the future orientation for data science and business analytics.
Yeah, the future trends, the part that where you covered future trends was actually that needed to be addressed because there is a lot of movement going in the AI domain as well.
Right.
So yeah, that is something on people's mind as well. Like recently, there were very uh, number of questions that were put up that whether AI is going to take up jobs and all of that. So yeah, I mean that is the one thing that needs to be addressed.
I
The
think
one thing that was hmm,
sorry, please go ahead. Yes.
yeah. No, I was just going on to the next point that was coming in my mind also when you were describing all the skill sets. Is there any kind of educational background that someone needs to come from to be able to go into analytics or data science? Like, for example, is an engineering background necessary?
Right. Yeah.
Or
I think
are there, huh,
right, yeah. So
are
basically
there
it
any job
helps.
profiles huh,
Yeah.
from
So
where
I
people switch between domains?
okay. So basically it helps, right? For example, if you have like a bachelor's in statistics or like an engineering degree in computer science, obviously you will be better writing at codes in in different languages than someone who does not have. But I will not say that it is not possible. So for example, I can take myself as an example that I did like an engineering degree, but it was in biotechnology, so I had like no idea about what coding is and then how things come up. And then I started working as a business analyst, which was like the first part. Because you see, in the terms of like spectrum from easy to hard to learn, I think the data wrangling, data visualization, Excel part is still easier than compared to writing codes in Python or like learning more advanced statistical techniques. And once you enter the game through a business analytic route, you can sort of decide for yourself that this is what you want to do, and this is the most important thing is you should like what you're doing. If you're not liking what you're doing, it is very, very unlikely that you will succeed in that domain. So probably, if you have like some sort of uh, bachelor's degree, like educational background in statistics or computers, I think that can help you to get a jump start into data science domain. But it is like, don't think of it that, oh, I don't have a degree, what should I do, like I will not be able to be a data scientist. Like I myself is an example of that. There are like now on the internet, like there are so many, there are like infinite courses, infinite resources available, which are way better than than the classroom things teachers taught. So for example, like when I was doing my masters, I was learning most things on YouTube. And I realized, oh, I like I just paid the fees for watching YouTube videos. But I think that's how it is, that the way things are evolving, it's too fast. I finished my masters in 2021. No one had heard of what an LLM is. 2 years down the line, like everyone is crazy about large language models. So those 2 years, I learned myself how those LLMs work. So to answer your question, Niharika, like it is not important that you should have some sort of educational background. What is important is you should have that enthusiasm. You should be curious about things, and then you should work hard to obtain those things. But a more practical approach would be to first start with the analytics route. Do those data visualization, data wrangling sort of non-tech things, what we say, and then if you like it, move into more data sciencey parts, and then do more statisticals and computer science. Another thing which I have seen like a lot of people struggling, because in my masters, we had people from very varied backgrounds. So I had a friend who did his bachelor's in pharmacy, like he was from France, and then he moved to study data science. And he was very clear that he wanted to do data science because he had some startup ideas. So he wanted to apply data science in pharmaceutical world. And for someone like him who has not studies mathematics, or like who was just doing biology and pharmacy, it was a big uplift. Like it is not easy to learn all the statistics and all those things. But what he did was he did something very smart. He said, okay, I don't know this advanced mathematics, I don't need to learn this advanced mathematics. What I need to do is I need to build intuition that how those algorithms work. And I think if you are coming from a more less mathsy background, let's say commerce, or some pharmacy or like medical line, you probably need to, and you are insistent that you want to go in data science, you just need to build an high level understanding that this is how these algorithms work, very high level, and this is the code for it, and this is how these codes work. And now you always have Google to basically support you. Now you have ChatGPT to support you, and just keep trying and failing, and like one day you will succeed.
Uh, okay, just touching upon the topic of, the resources that you mentioned, like, like, for example, you were referring to YouTube videos and other courses. Can you give some examples of online courses, any certifications, or any, resources that one can use while on the learning journey?
Yeah, sure, of course. So basically, now when it comes to learning, I think I personally feel that certifications, although they are great, but they are not that much valuable compared to boot camps or like specialized workshops. So for example, you can always, you can learn the courses on Coursera, edX, Udacity, and I can like give you a few YouTube channels. Like for example, we were talking about building intuition. So there is this channel called like Three Blue One Brown, which is like nice when it comes to build intuition. There is like another channel by Joe Stammer. He is another professor in US, and he made his own. He's a biostatistician actually, not a data scientist, but they use a lot of data science things in biostatistics nowadays. So I think that is another channel you can sort of explore. But yeah, coming back to like the certification and like Coursera, edX, Udacity courses, I would say that a big part of your learning will come from these, right? So for example, if you want to learn how deep learning neural network work, you should go to um, like the online courses on Coursera, edX, Udacity, or even in Shiksha. You will learn those, but don't think that if you have certification, that is a guarantee it will end you up with a job. So you need to have those skills and not necessarily the certification. Having a certification is not a guarantee of having the skills. But if you have the skills and then you do some boot camps of personal projects, I think that tells way more than a simple certification does. Another thing, like in terms of courses, in terms of like resources to learn, is that uh, I personally believe that with so much knowledge available, what you can simply do is just go on, like I am pretty sure like Shiksha Online must also have something that you just go and pick up a project, like build an end-to-end virtual project and learn along the way, because it is not like high school. This is not like political science or like geography that you can watch some videos and learn. You have to do it by learning, be it anything, be it data visualization, data wrangling, or be it like building a machine learning model. You have to sort of do it yourself. You have to sort of write the code yourself to basically understand that, oh, this is how things work, and then only you can use it to in a more practical, like be in a job interview or in your current jobs as well. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's about it. So
Okay.
online courses,
Yeah.
YouTube videos, and bootcamps.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing. Like, are there any particular factors that one should consider before making the choice between the two? And usually, how is the career path like in these two professions?
Yeah, sure. So basically, like factors to take into consideration before making a career choice is that, obviously, like for me, the number one factor is that what is your interest? Like if you want to do a lot of data science, if you want to do like make the models, or you want to do, you want to stay closer to the business and work in domain where you can actually have an impact on real business, right? You can tell the stakeholders that, for example, I work in an insurance company and tell, oh, you should like try to sell your premiums like this, or this is how you catch the fraud. So that is the number one priority, that you have to ask yourself this question, that where exactly my interest lies. Second factor for me would be like, to see, like have a reflection on your background. So for example, when you are coming, as I said, like, coming from more statistical or more software engineering background, things will be easier for you to ramp up into a data science domain compared to coming from like someone like me coming from a biotechnology background or like a commerce or arts background. It will be comparatively challenging for you to enter the data science domain. So if you are coming from more specialized courses like background, I would say go for data, and if that interests you, of course, go for more data science things. If you're coming from more generalized background, go for data analyst or business analyst kind of career path, and I think that will help you. In terms of career goals, I think, because I see them like two different verticals, what will eventually happen is that if you enter data scientist, and like you have two options now. You can become like senior data scientist and then a data science manager leading of data scientists, or you can become like more technically advanced data scientist, like principal data scientist or something like that. Same for business analyst. For business analyst, the thing is that you cannot have a principal business analyst. That route will merge into the management route. So what you will have is that business analyst, senior business analyst, then business analytics manager, and then like some sort of senior marketing manager or something like that. And so a lot of it actually depends like on your circumstances. A lot of it actually depends that what choices you make. But always think of it in this way, that like none of them is like a one way door. So if you sign up for a data science course, it is not by any rule compulsory that you will have to do data science. You can always switch back to do more analytics. Or if you want to do, like for example, me, I started as data a business analyst, moved into data science, like move back into business analyst. See, you keep switching, right? Like it depends on the opportunities you get, it depends on the routes you get. And finally, one last sort of advice from my side, in terms of factors to consider in making the right choice, is that think of like more often than not, what we think is we look at on a very small level, that I have this thing, I should do this, and then I will get that. Think of it as a more broader perspective. Like your work is part of your life, and it's a significant part of your life. Almost one third of your time will go into your work. So think of it in a way that what excites you really should define what you should do, and rather than what you can or cannot. Skill sets will eventually come if the excitement is there. If the excitement is not there, no matter how hard you try or I tried, you will never be able to do things.
Yeah, that's actually a valid point for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, huh. Just I think that sort of covers almost all the things that we wanted to discuss in the session. If there are any questions, this is the time you can just post in the Q&A box. We do have one question, but just to let you know that Subhankar, this is actually not relevant to the topic at hand. So if you want to know something about data science and business analytics, you can just let us know in the Q&A box. I am also quickly launching a small feedback poll so that people who are still attending can let us know whether the session was helpful. Uh, if you would be recommending it to your friends so that we understand that these topics are helpful to you, and the session content is also helpful. For those who are still attending, I'm also quickly sharing the YouTube link for this particular session. You can go back to it whenever you want, and if there are any questions that you missed out or anything that you missed out, you can just go back and take a look.
Sure.
So yeah,
And
I
I will
have a
also
couple of.
post my LinkedIn
Huh.
ID. So if you have some more questions, like, I'll be happy to take them offline and help you sort of,
Yeah.
clarify.
That would be,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be quite helpful actually. Um, all right, I think we have a couple of uh, entries in the feedback pool. So I'll quickly close that. Thank you so much, Raghav. It was quite an insightful session, and thank you so much for taking our time for this.
No, I'm happy to help. And, like, it was nice meeting you all, and, best of luck with your career journeys.